Hi everybody, so let's start our PPO theory by talking about the air law. I suppose you could find this part of the theory quite boring, but it's okay, but we need to go through it anyway because we have some set of questions on theory exam about the aviation law. So let's start with the discussing about ICAO organization. We'll also have the questions on this topic. So we will go from foundation of ICAO and we'll talk about the annexes that has been signed with the main contract of the ICAO. We'll talk about freedoms of the air, rules of the air that were defined in these contracts, and also we'll discuss briefly about the convention that has been held during the life of the ICAO. And also, we will talk about the associated to ICAO organizations. So, what is the ICAO stands for? ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization. This ICAO organization was founded in 1944 when the convention has been held in Chicago with 52 nation states. And this convention was ratified in the April of 1947. But anyway, the date of foundation of the ICAO organization is 1944, December 7th. So the headquarters of the ICAO is decided to be in the Montreal, and since that time now in this organization we are having now 191 member states or countries, and 36 of them are members of the governing council of the ICAO. So what were the reasons of why this ICAO organization was founded? So the reason was that in early 50s the international aviation started to grow fast, and all countries had international flights between each countries, and the difference in air navigation facilities, difference in standards, difference in rules between each country in aviation, and also the difference in the custom and immigration formalities between countries. So all this created problems in growing of international aviation, and also it jeopardized the safety of international flights between countries. So that's why the main countries, the biggest countries, decided to create this organization which had to be working on safety, regularity and efficiency of the international civil aviation flights. So they decided to create standards and recommended practices under this ICAO organization, and all contracting states were required to comply with them. So to achieve these aims, ICAO decided to focus on the principles and functions like regulating air navigations, encouraging the development of airways, airports and air navigation facilities, on installation of navigation facilities by the contracting states, and also on facilitation of air transport by the reduction of custom and immigration formalities between contracting states, and avoiding discrimination between contracting states, including financial discrimination, and also by promoting the safety of flight in international aviation. So with signing this contract that we are going to discuss a little bit later on the ICAO convention in 1944, there are some main definitions are set, and one of them is the contracting states. So contracting state means that it is any state which is a part of the Convention of International Aviation Organization signed in Chicago in December of 1944. And the International Air Service Transit Agreement, this is the main contract which signed on this convention. This contract or agreement permits any aircraft of signatory state to fly over or land for technical reasons in the territory of another signatory state So a signatory state is the same term, the same definition of the contracting state. So the International Air Transport Agreement, this was the additional contract, and it's not basic contract, but the contracting states were free to choose to sign or not sign this contract. This agreement allows the carriage of traffic between the state of registration and another signatory state. By the traffic, we mean the carriage of mail, cargo, or passengers. Also, we've had some definitions like high seas. So high seas are defined as the areas of sea outside of the territorial limits of any state, and the state of registry, the state where the aircraft is registered, and SARP, it is the abbreviation for standards and recommended practices that were defined by the ICAO organization. And scheduled flights. Scheduled flights are the internationally agreed routine flights between countries, and of course unscheduled flights, an opposite, the internationally agreed non-routine flights. And cabotage. Cabotage is the internal domestic scheduled commercial air transit performed by other state of registry. So let's talk about briefly now about the structure of the ICAO organization. So it has 4 levels of structure, and the first one is the sovereign body of ICAO. It is the assembly. Assembly meets each 3 years and is convened by the council. The council is the permanent body responsible for the assembly, and it is composed by the 36 contracting states, managing contracting states, elected by the assembly for 3 years terms. So in other words, the council is composed by 33 representatives of each contracting states. So the council is the governing body of ICAO. And the next level is the commissions and committees of ICAO. So they are composed of members appointed by the council, and so those commissions and committees are working on each different fields and functions. And the ICAO Secretariat is some part of organization which supplies technical and administrative aids to the council. The number of the committees and commissions we see in this list. I think no need to speak out loud of all this list. You'll just see that all those committees working on each field of the functioning of this ICAO organization. So because of the ICAO organization is now functioning all over the world, ICAO is present in the 9 geographical regions, which we can see here in the list. That's why ICAO decided to maintain 7 regional offices in the world. In Bangkok, Cairo, Dakar, Lima, Mexico City, Nairobi, and in Paris. So now let's turn to annexes that were signed together with the main contract on the Convention of ICAO. We have a number of annexes. I think there are 19th of annexes we are having. So with the red one, with the red font, I highlighted the annexes you have to know on the PPL level. So it is the Annex 1. Number 1 is the Annex is defining the personal licensing rules, and Annex number 2 is the rules of the air. Annex number 7, the aircraft nationality and registration marking, and Annex 8 is the airworthiness of the aircraft, and Annex 12 is the search and rescue, Annex 17, security, and Annex 18, the safe transport of dangerous goods by the air. So you don't need exactly in detail those annexes word to word, but you need to understand the main ideas of all those annexes, because you will have some questions in the theory exam, what that annex stands for or what is that annex is about. So now let's go through each annex that we highlighted above and talk about those basic ideas of the annexes. So the first one, the personal licensing. So these annexes are containing SARPs, SARPs, which are established requiring each state to apply standardization in the license of the personnel involved in international aviation, like flight crew members, pilots and flight engineers, air traffic controllers, and maintenance technicians who is working on the supporting air navigation facilities and airports. So annex number 2 is the rules of the air. This annex is quite wide enough and big, and of course we need to talk about this separately. We will have a number of videos about the rules of the air. And also the annex number 7 is the aircraft nationality and registration marking. It actually requires to go through it separately. We'll have additional video about this annex. And the annex number 8 is airworthiness of the aircraft. This annex defines SARPs, standard and recommended practices about the certification of the airworthiness of the aircraft. And we also will discuss this annex separately. Annex number 12 is the search and rescue. This annex is containing the SARPs for to provide procedures and facilitates the search and rescue within the territory of any state that is signed the contract. So this annex is providing the right to search the aircraft at the territory of another state without reasonable delay, and also the search and rescue annex is obliged states have to bring possible support on in SAR operations, search and rescue operations. Annex number 17, it's about security. So this annex is safeguarding international civil aviation against acts of unlawful interference. And also it establishes national civil aviation security programs to designate an authority responsible for security, to keep the level of threat under a constant review, and to coordinate activities with the other relevant national agencies and liaise with the corresponding authority of other states. I can read briefly. Great. So, and also this annex provides us the authority of the commander. So the aircraft commander or pilot in command may order to authorize the assistance of other crew members and may request and authorize but not order the assistance of the passengers to restrain any person who is required to be restrained. The last annex need to be mentioned in the PPL theory is the 18th annex, which is about the safe transport of dangerous goods by the air. We won't have any questions, a lot of questions about this topic, maybe just there won't be some questions what is the annex 18 is about. So this annex is about the having inspection and enforcement the procedures to ensure that dangerous goods are being carried in compliance with the requirements in the international flights. So we talked earlier about the contracts or agreement signed during the Convention of Chicago in 1944. So the first contract, it was mandatory to sign. This was a transit or technical agreement which gave the contracting states the transit freedoms, the basic freedoms. The first freedom was the privilege to fly across any territory of another participating state without landing. The second freedom, technical freedom, was the privilege to land in another participating state like country A in this picture, for non-traffic purposes like refueling or repairing, but not for uplifting, taking on board or discharging the traffic like passengers, cargo or mail. So the second contract, air transport contract, and this contract gave the air transport freedoms, free freedoms, basic freedoms. The Third freedom was about the privilege to put down in another state, like country A, traffic taken on the state of the registration, home. Fourth, it was the privilege to take on in another state, country A, traffic destined for the state of airline registration, it's home. And the fifth freedom is the privilege for an airline registered in the state, in the home state here, to en route to or from that state, take traffic in the second state, say country A, and put them down in the third state, let's say country B. So, rules of the air. Again, as we said, the rules of the air is quite a very huge topic to discuss it in the one video. We'll break this down for a set of videos, because there are a lot of materials like reporting hazardous situations, low flying prohibitors, and the rights of the way, and so on and so on. You can see the list of the topics included to this rules of the air. So we'll discuss it in a set of video. So now let's talk about the conventions that has been held during the life of the ICAO. Except this one, actually this convention, Warsaw Convention, was held in 1928, before the ICAO official foundation date. And this convention, Warsaw Convention, was about the responsibilities and liabilities of the carrier and the engines of the aircraft, together with the idea of compensation for loss of life or injury for passengers, or delaying the loss of the baggage. And also this Warsaw Convention defined the loss and irregularity and or absence of a ticket or note, that it does not affect the existence of the validity of the contract between air carrier and passenger. That means that if you lose a ticket for any reason, you would anyway allow it on board of the aircraft, because you have a kind of signed contract between the aircraft and you as a passenger. So the Convention of Rome of 1955 is the convention that you will have questions about in theory exam. So this convention was about regulating the question of damage caused by the foreign aircraft to third parties on the ground. In other words, if some airline would have some accidents that would cause the damages on the ground to some residents, for example, and those residents who had suffered from the damage could sue this airline company, which is registered in the other country, in this in their home state of residence, and this resulting judgment have to be enforceable in the state of the registry of the operator. So the Tokyo Convention of 1963. This convention was about the offenses and acts committed on board. So this convention provides the state of registration of an aircraft to rights to exercise jurisdiction over those acts of the offenses and acts committed on board. So also the aircraft commander and other were empowered to prevent such acts being committed and to deliver the person concerned to the appropriate authority. And also states party to the convention are obliged to take all the appropriate measures to restore and preserve control of the aircraft to its lawful commander. So the Hague Convention of 1970, this convention was about the suppression of the unlawful seizure of aircraft or hijacking. The reason was of this convention has been held in this 1970, that because in early 70s there happened some acts of the hijacking of the aircraft, and ICAO decided to set some rules about it. First of all, ICAO denied the act of unlawful seizure of aircraft totally, and also this convention contained detailed provisions of the establishment of the jurisdiction by states over the offense, and on the taking of the offender into the custody, and on the prosecution of or extradition of the offender. All other conventions that need to be mentioned in this video are actually, they were about raising the security of international aviation. So the Montreal Convention of 1971, it was about, again, suppression of unlawful acts against the safety of civil aviation. It covers the act of violence on board which endanger people and property and the safety of the airplane, like destruction of the aircraft in service, or placing into the aircraft any devices likely to destroy or damage the aircraft, or destroying or damaging any air navigation facility on the air, or making some interference with its correct operations. And also the communication of any information known to be false, which endangers the safety of the airplane in flight. The next convention, actually it was the supplementary protocol of the Montreal Convention of 1971, Montreal I think. This convention, or protocol, just extended the definition of offenses given in the Montreal Convention. So it started to include also acts of violence at airports, like the act of violence against the person of an airport, or some kind of use or of unlawful use of any device intended to destroy or seriously damage the facilities of the airport, or damage the aircrafts not in service in airport, or disrupt any just a normal workflow or service at an airport. So now let's turn to the organizations that are related to ICAO. The European Civil Aviation Conference, which first held in 1955, this was the organization or forum that was focused on the harmonization of civil aviation policies and practice amongst the member states of the European Union countries. And this forum promoted understanding on policy matters between member states and other parts of the world. The Joint Aviation Authorities, the GAA, it was the associated body of European Conference. So this GAA organization was focused on implementing safety regulation standards and procedures. Now this organization, GAA, is just a training organization, and all functions handled to EASA, European European Aviation Safety Agency. So, and finally, the European Aviation Safety Agency, EASA. This is the organization in the European Union, is focused on the promoting the highest common standards of the safety and environmental protection in civil aviation in Europe. So this organization is working on safety rule marking, on safety legislation, and also on inspection and training and standardization programs to ensure uniform implementation of European aviation safety legislation in all member states. And also it is working on a safety and environmental type certification of aircrafts, engines and parts of the aircraft. And also it's working on the approval or oversight of aircraft design organizations worldwide, and on all of the production and maintenance organization outside of the Euro Union. And also EASA working on the data collection, analysis and research to improve aviation safety. And finally, the next organization, which is has the same ideas as the EASA, it's the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. It covers the United States. So this is the aviation authority in the United States of America. Again, it's responsible for safety and on the creating federal aviation regulations, FARs, which are created to regulate all flight operations in the United States. Also, Federal Aviation Administration provides all air traffic control on the territory of the United States. Okay, thank you. That's it for now. And